Greetings, fellow scribes. Welcome back to the archive. This week, I bring you a Tales from the Archive, where I focus on the storytelling aspect of various games. In this case, I'm not actually telling a story from what happened in the game. I'm talking about the storytelling differences, the philosophical differences, if you will, between two of the oldest games of the cyberpunk genre. Cyberpunk and Shadowrun. These games, more than just the surface detail that Shadowrun has magic and Cyberpunk doesn't, and yes, I consider that a surface detail for this, these games have some different takes on the cyberpunk genre in and of itself. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we talk Shadowrun v Cyberpunk. One of the big differences between Shadowrun and Cyberpunk is in their default location. And these kind of are differences that affect more than just the local area. In Shadowrun, the default location from the very beginning has been Seattle, a real city located within the United Canadian and American States. It is a city, a UCAS city within the middle of the Native American nations, acts as a trade hub, shipping hub, and it's a place where a lot of corps go because it's a good place to set up. The difference is that the corps have extraterritoriality in Shadowrun. What that means is corporate territory is effectively sovereign foreign soil. So the corps can do whatever they want. Now, the difference comes in between Seattle and Night City in that Night City is a fictitious city. Nothing about it is grounded in the real world, other than the fact that it's in California. From there, you also have to deal with the United States in the world of cyberpunk kind of fell. It has authority, mostly on the East Coast and to some degree in the Midwest. But Night City is an independent city within the nominally United States state of California. And so, Night City isn't bound by U.S. laws, and Night City is run by the corporations. Like, literally, the city council seats, the mayor, and all that are from the corporations, have ties to various corporations, and can be manipulated by them. While, Shadowrun in Seattle, its city council is actual politicians. Its mayors are politicians. I mean, they might take money from corps, but they aren't loyal to individual corporations. So, right there you have a major setting difference. There is no extraterritoriality in Cyberpunk. In fact, one of the major corps, Militech, was nationalized by the United States. And said corp is the major arms manufacturer for the United States. Let's not forget the fact that Militech and the Japanacorp, Arasaka, have very bad blood between them. To the point where, well, the Fourth Corporate War was fought between them. And involved nukes. And other stuff. But that's the first major difference. Corporations actually are subject to laws in Cyberpunk, while they aren't in Shadowrun. From there, you will get into sort of differences of philosophy. Shadowrun is more in the transhumanism aspect of what cybernetics does. I mean, yes, there are elements of it in Cyberpunk, exotics, and full conversion Borgs, but they don't go as far as Shadowrun does. Shadowrun, you are literally talking about a setting where you can put digitigrade legs with raptor claws on them, on your legs. Where you are getting, there are so many different things that you can use. Enhance your memory, enhance your math processing, extra heart tissue, expanded lung volume, etc., etc. Because Shadowrun went a lot towards BioWare. Biological enhancements to the body. Yes, it still has the old cyberware, the old chrome as we would call it, but Shadowrun went a lot towards, as I said, biological enhancements, gene tech enhancements, and stuff like that. Cyberpunk has always stayed at a core of metal, chrome. There's very little in the way of actual biological adjustments. They'll do things like, they'll do muscle grafting and lacing metal into your bones, but it's a different sort of philosophy there. On top of that, Shadowrun has a sort of nebulous term of essence. It represents both your spiritual integrity and your body's holistic integrity. And as cyberware and bioware is put in, you lose essence. And when you take that out, you generally don't get it back. Cyberpunk uses your empathy attribute and humanity, which is derived from your empathy. And every time you put an implant in, it lowers your humanity. Divide your humanity by 10, and that's your current acting empathy. Rounded down. And then what you do, remember that empathy affects your interactions with people. In Shadowrun, there's actually implants that boost your social skills. While in Cyberpunk, all implants reduce the maximum level of your social skills. Combine this with, as your humanity gets lower, you start going into a state called cyberpsychosis. And this is because, well, in Cyberpunk, your cyberware is distancing you from your own humanity. When you get cyberware in Cyberpunk, especially extensive systems, you go for psychotherapy to raise your humanity back to its maximum level. In Shadowrun, that doesn't happen. There's no way to raise your essence up after you get a piece of cyberware implanted, or bioware. Now, to some people, it looks like Cyberpunk's method is more about, oh look, I just have to spend some time not getting implants to get my humanity up, and then I can put even more wear in. But that's not how it actually works. That's more slowing the descent into cyberpsychosis, not stopping it. Because first off, there's a permanent reduction to your maximum humanity, no matter what you do. And there's often a larger decrease to your humanity short term. But that permanent decrease turns it into a downward spiral. Eventually, you will become a cyberpsycho if you keep putting wear into your body. In Shadowrun, all putting wear in your body means is magicians are going to have a harder time healing you. 5th edition, it kind of put a limit because it determined your social limit from your social attributes and your essence. But really, that didn't really contribute that much. And it just kind of just didn't work. If you understand what I'm saying. So, Shadowrun, they tried limiting things by your essence, but it didn't mesh. Your empathy, however, in Cyberpunk is an important stat. It covers a whole range of skills as the baseline attribute for it. So a low functioning empathy means you're going to have a low mechanical base in those skills. And the reason why is because you can't relate to people. The more stuff you put into your body, the more superpowered you make yourself, the less you are capable of relating to normal people. If you are in a state where you have to pay attention when you go to give someone a handshake, lest you crush their hand, think about how that's impacting you psychologically. It's not that, oh man, I'm so strong, I need to watch my hand. It's, the unchromed are just so fragile. And that's where you start getting into the roots of cyberpsychosis. The next major area of difference between the two is kind of in the stories they tell. Shadowrun stories, you're always going up against the corpse. That means you're never really in a street level game. Unless you're literally set in the Barrens, dealing with just the gangs and the Barrens. You're not really dealing with a street level game. Cyberpunk, because of how it's set up, because of how the setting is, one of the core philosophies for GMing it is keep it street level. Even if you're dealing with something going up against Arasaka, you want to keep it street level. What that means is, in Shadowrun, if you're going on a run against Renraku, you're going to have lots of stuff at your disposal. You're going to have, a team, you're going to be organized, you're going to be well equipped, you're going to get prep done, you're going to go in and you're going to get it done. For Cyberpunk, it's going to be, you're either going to need to be sneaking into Arasaka somehow, or you're going to need to be fighting your way somehow. And either way, you're outmatched the whole time. Because you're just street punks. You might have gotten favors from a nomad clan. You might have gotten inside information. But ultimately, you're outmatched. There's surprises that you could never possibly know about. And you're clearly punching above your weight. One of the great examples is 2013, the end of that story arc, when Alt Cunningham is extracted by Arasaka to try and get in to rescue her. Johnny Silverhand does a concert and incites it into a riot. In Shadowrun, there's nothing quite like that. Shadowrun is ultimately the difference between Cyberpunk and Shadowrun is this. In Shadowrun, you are mercenaries. In Cyberpunk, you are street trash that has somehow hit above your weight. That is the core philosophical difference in gaming there, in storytelling there. In fact, I think ultimately the difference between the two games can best be summed up by their most signature set of rules. In Shadowrun, the rules of the street are: watch your back, shoot straight, conserve ammunition, never ever cut a deal with a dragon. In Cyberpunk, the rules of the street are style over substance, attitude is everything, live on the edge, break the rules. And I think that there is no better summary of the core differences than those two sets of rules. understand, you also have to deal with Mike Pondsmith had his own rules for GMing that come through as well. To me, the three most important of Pondsmith's rules for running a game are: it's always street level, it's always a caper, and it's always personal. Shadowrun doesn't have these rules. Shadowrun tends to be a lot more just you're doing something. Okay, let's be honest. Shadowrun is Cyberpunk dungeon crawls. That's what it was originally envisioned as, and that kind of has permeated through the editions. More recent play has taken a more subtle approach to the game, but it's still ultimately dungeon crawls in skyscrapers. While Cyberpunk is ultimately you're basically doing Ocean's 11 with guns and cyberware. And that's pretty much the best way to look at them. And I think with that, that's a good summary of the key differences. I'm sure you might think of more differences. If you do, please comment below. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Hey, if you really like me, I have a Patreon. Links in the description. Support me. Help the channel grow. With that said, next week I'm actually going to start a series I've been kind of meaning to do for a while. I'm going to take a look at the main archetypes of Shadowrun and start looking at how they've evolved over the years and how you work with them best. So until then, I'd like you all to remember to have fun and keep gaming.